Hey, Newsa-Cast listeners. Just want to give you a little information about the mission of the Newsa-Cast. Our mission stems from the mission of the Red Smith Banquet, and that mission was to support youth sports in the Fox Valley. Over the 57 years of its existence, we've been honored to give out over $1 million to various youth sports organizations throughout the Fox Valley. The Newsa-Cast is looking to continue that mission and support youth sports as well. You can help us do that by donating to the Newsa-Cast and the Red Smith Sports Banquet.
Today on the Newsa-Cast, Tosh and I go back to Lawrence University and we talk to Jeff Van Lannen, who is the new women's volleyball coach. Tosh and I take an old look at new, which is presented by Raleigh Winter and Associates. Our Red Smith Banquet throwback takes us back to 1998. The legendary Sal Bando received the Red Smith Award that year. Tosh and I end the show like we always do with a little "It's Forgotten, I'm Never Forgetting." So what do you say, folks? Let's get this show on the road.
I think that we have to let kids have their experiences, whatever those experiences are. You can learn a lot by not making a club team. You know, it happened to my own daughter, and she was devastated. My ex-wife was angry. I said, don't. Just let it hurt. This is her journey. Just let her figure it out. From that point on, she's played with a chip on her shoulder the rest of her life. But it's her journey. It's her stuff. A bad beat, empty pockets, and a broken heart teaches you a lot of stuff.
Welcome to the Newsa-Cast. What is a Newsa-Cast? It's where we bring local folk stories to life through conversation.
All right, Newsa-Cast listeners, welcome to another episode of the Newsa-Cast. We are, always impressed that you sit and listen to our show.
Always.
It's just two guys sitting around having a good time, talking about what's new and around here in Northeast Wisconsin. And Joe, I think we have another nice episode.
I think so too, Tosh. This has got to be about the 60th, I think. I think this might be number 60 for us. So
wow.
Giddy up. Yeah, look out, world.
Yeah, we're going to head back to Lawrence University this week, and we sit down and talk with Jeff Van Lannen, who is the new women's volleyball coach. And just based on the interview, we're going to see some good things coming from Lawrence volleyball for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Tosh, it's been interesting. The last couple of months, I would say, you and I have talked to a bunch of different people at Lawrence and plan to talk to a couple of more. They are really refocused on the athletic department. No promises that they'll get back to the to the 70s and 80s type Vikings teams, but the facilities, new track, new baseball, Alexander Gym is being redone. Of course, the Bonta Bowl is maybe the best football facility out there. So they're making a commitment to every sport. And Jeff walks us through what he's doing with the women's program at Lawrence.
Yeah, and it is not to give anything away, but a lot of talk about experiences for kids and recruiting and talking about the club scene, and it's just a really good interview. He has a great take on being a coach and the experience that these kids are going to have. So really, truly sit down and listen. It's going to be fantastic. And like I said, I really, it's not going to take very long, and you're going to see some good things coming out of this program. And, Joe, like you said, there's a lot of good stuff going on at Lawrence University. So if you haven't seen, the Trout Museums being built on the corner, you have, like you said, fantastic football field. You have renovated Alexander Gym. There's plans to do all kinds of things. And, athletics brings in students, and they're doing some really, really good things at Lawrence University, and it's very exciting to have that in our own backyard.
Absolutely. It reminds me, last week we had Corey Krieger on, and of course, Corey's a graduate of Lawrence. Yep. You and Corey obviously coached together at Lawrence, so you know it well. But Corey mentioned, this is even non-athletic related, but the folks that like poet laureates and world-renowned authors come into this town, come into this campus almost on a regular basis, and we're not
Absolutely.
even aware of it. So it's an amazing, incredible university. And I know as a resident of Appleton, I don't take nearly or I don't appreciate it even
Right.
as much as I should. One, the beauty. I certainly take advantage of that, though. I love walking the campus.
Yeah, you know what? If you go back to another episode with Alex Tank, Alex went to Lawrence,
Right.
You know, for singing at first, and we talked about what a hidden gem, really, truly Lawrence is. We
Absolutely.
really do take it for granted here in the Fox Valley of what we have, and hopefully, you know, if you're not doing anything, go check out Lawrence's website. Check out their music department, because you can go check out, you know, student recitals and things like that for free, and they're absolutely incredible.
Tosh, I couldn't agree more. I've got the perfect afternoon for anybody. You put your earbuds in, you listen to the Newsa-Cast. There's a lot of great people from Lawrence, like you said, we talked about, and you walk the campus. Some of the best
Right.
views of the river are there.
Yeah.
You know, the coffee shops are right there. I believe you can even eat in the, I don't even know the name of the building, but I think, the public can eat there. So
Yep.
grab some lunch and just stroll and listen to the Newsa-Cast.
There you go. Well, did you do any strolling this week, Joe?
Well, I did a lot of strolling with mail in my hand, that's for sure, Tosh. But it was nice to not have any rain.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tell you what I did stroll through and I really enjoyed was week 1 of high school football. I got done early on Thursday and popped on the live stream and watched my old football officiating crew work. They actually worked the Appleton North game, and
all right.
it was fun to watch those guys and see football back. I didn't miss being on the field one bit, but it was fun to watch football, and I'm reminded of how really it's almost easy to watch high school football now. You have the Post Crescent stream, you have the Score has a stream, every school has a live stream, some even have announcers. It's pretty cool to and the cameras and just the visual effects and the sound get better every year. So it's kind of cool to watch high school football that way.
Well, you know, and that's one of the things that came out of COVID is that there's a lot of live streaming, and the live streaming has gotten better and better.
Right.
And it does provide, you know, you get grandparents that are able from out of state to get to watch their grandkids play. And, you know, if you can't make it to a game, you can watch your kid play. And so it's really a great opportunity. And as the live streaming and technology gets better and we get more accustomed to it, we're going to see good things with that as well.
Yeah, that is pretty cool, Tosh. I know we've mentioned it in past episodes, but that is one of the really cool things that came out of COVID was, I mean, heck, you and I are able to do this podcast pretty much because of the technology that came out of COVID.
Right.
It's nuts. It's awesome. It opens up so many opportunities for everybody. And you're right. Grandma in California can watch, you know, Bobby run around the field in Appleton. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's good.
How about you, Tosh? What was your week like?
My week ended up being a little crazy, but very exciting for me. I officially accepted a new position. I'm going to be an associate principal at Oshkosh North, being a Spartan.
We got to congratulate Tosh. Nice.
Yeah.
Yes. No, well deserved. That's awesome.
After 23 years in the classroom, I'm going to be going to administration and, you know, hopefully helping new teachers and helping students in a different way. And I'm very excited to go to Oshkosh North. Heard all kinds of amazing things about the school over the past, you know, several days. And it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. So.
Well, they're very lucky to have you. And if they want to get to know you, they can listen to the Newsa-Cast.
There you go.
Get to know Mr. Toshner. But yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's a sad loss for Appleton East. I know you guys, you have a close staff there. I'm fortunate to know a couple people there. You guys are awesome. We've had some of them on the Newsa-Cast, and I know you're going to be missed there for sure. But congrats to you, Tosh. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you. And after things settled down a little bit, I did get to catch a little bit of Diggstown and Ben.
Nice.
At the Fox River House, and so that was nice on Saturday nights. Will and I got to sit a little bit and listen to them. I didn't get to talk to anybody, but it was good to hear some live music on a beautiful Saturday night at the Fox River House.
Yeah, that was nice. I told you before we hit record, I was delivering mail a block away, and I heard Ben Mulwana strum a few tunes, and that was kind of nice. But yeah, both of those that would have been a great show to see.
Yeah.
The Fox River House is a cool little intimate spot. They redid the stage, and you know, both of those groups. Diggstown, of course, as everybody knows, that's our home band, our house band. And Ben, for all of you folks, you and I had a chance to sit down with him at Mile of Music. We have an interview coming out later this fall sometime. And yeah, he was cool as can be as well.
He was. Yeah, great story. Excellent music. If you haven't got a chance to listen to him at Mile of Music, pull him up on Spotify. He's fantastic. Really, really good stuff.
Yes. Speaking of music, I got to throw this in, Tosh. For the 4 Fish fans that are out there, they did it again this week, Tosh. They're known for their festivals. They put on their own festivals. They had one this past weekend in Delaware, and they did what's called a secret set, and it was unbelievable because you know how big like a concert stage is. I mean, there's several stories high, super wide. They draped these. They're not sheets, but some kind of thing, and then they projected it. It looked very much like the Sphere in Vegas.
Oh, cool.
And they played a 50-minute set. There was no singing. It was just wicked music, a lot of just Trey and Paige back and forth, but it was just nuts. It was very, very Sphere-like, and it was
nice.
it was incredible. So if you can imagine that in the woods in the middle of the night for a secret set, doggone it, I got to get to one of those festivals, Tosh.
I can't believe you haven't been to it yet. So
I should have had opportunities, and I haven't. So
it's in your future. I know it's in your future. So.
Yeah, let's hope so. Mondegreen was this past one, so we'll see what it brings next year.
Well, that's fantastic. We mentioned football. Get out and watch some football. Get out and watch any high school sports. Tennis is playing, and volleyball, and we got soccer going on. Anything that's out there. We have some fantastic young athletes that are here in the Fox Valley. And, it's not just Friday Night Football. There's all kinds of events taking place. And, if you see some lights or you see some cars, stop in and check them out.
No, absolutely. And especially now, early in the year before school starts, high school football plays Thursday and Friday. And this past weekend, last week, there were some great games. Everybody opened up. Actually, Tosh, I got to shout out Fox Valley Lutherans, Lucas Pappendorf.
Yeah.
That dude, he threw for 343 yards and 5 touchdowns in their win over Two Rivers. That's nuts.
It was crazy. I was at that game. Obviously, Ethan, he's a sophomore, so he was standing on the sidelines. But
is he? Oh, yeah. Yep.
And he suits up for the games. And but yeah, he looked fantastic. Threw some beautiful long balls. They look good. So it should be an exciting season. And it was a lot of fun.
No, absolutely. And this comes out on Thursday, obviously. Next week or tomorrow or today or whatever day, I'm not quite sure what day these games are, but you've got West Apira, Kaukauna, and Kimberly's at Bayport next week, and then Needham and Asha play their rivalry games. Right. So those are some big-time games in week 2. So, catch them on the live stream or go see them in person. But that's maybe where I just teeny tiny miss a little bit of officiating, because that Kimberly at Bayport game would be a hell of a game to be at, and
should be a good game.
West Apira is always tough too.
West Apira, Kaukauna will be good. I know Kaukauna lost to Notre Dame this last week, so they'll be looking to rebound. So there's going to be a lot on stake in that game, so that should be fun. No,
absolutely, and like you said, soccer and volleyball, that all started this week as well. So sports are back in full swing, and well, Tosh, what do we have? The kids have about a week in Appleton left right before school.
About a week before school starts. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So onward we go. Onward we go, right?
Get the show on the road, right?
It's that time again, once again, for an old look at new. Brought to you by Raleigh Winter and Associates, celebrating 55 years. Did you know that in 1962, an Appleton junior high school teacher with a strong work ethic started a residential realty company? His name, Raleigh Winter. 3 generations later, the Winters still hold true to a strong work ethic and an excellent reputation in the community. Today, Raleigh Winter and Associates remain actively involved in providing retail, office, and industrial users an affordable, well-designed working environment through the creation and/or acquisition of quality real estate in the Fox cities and even beyond new. So what do you say? Let's take an old look at new.
All right, Newsa-Cast listeners, it is time for the old look at new. That point where we take a little look at some type of history that is happening around our world. So let's take a look at that. Joe, what do you got today?
Well, Tosh, I am taking a look at the world around us a little bit, but I'm going back to 1935. You know, we just had the Olympics. We were all excited for the Olympics, and reading about that, I thought I would have known this, but I didn't. In 1935, at the Big Ten Championship, track and field championship, one Jesse Owens, you know, the one in 1936 that owned Hitler. Well, about a year before that, in 1935, in Ann Arbor, Big Ten had their championship, and he, in 45 minutes, literally in 45 minutes, broke 3 world records, and then less than an hour later, he equaled 2 others. It was absolutely incredible. So, and this was 5 days after he fell down the stairs. He wasn't even sure if he was going to even run on this day. He had a bruised back.
Jeez.
So here's the timeline. It's the world record. It began at 3:15 when he completed the 100-yard dash in 9.4 seconds. That equaled the world record. Then at 3:25, freaking 10 minutes later, he set the long jump record with 8.13 meters. That record stood for 25 years. Unbelievable.
Wow.
And then at 3:45, he set the record in the 200 meters with 20.3 seconds. And finally at 4 o'clock, he ran the 200 meter hurdles in record time, another 22 seconds. Absolutely unbelievable. And just absolutely incredible. So one Jesse Owens, I thought that was a pretty cool stat. I never knew that. That might be the most amazing thing in sports. Not sure.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely incredible. Jesse Owens was, you know, I mean, I know we probably forget about him now when we can look at all the athletes that there are, but what an incredible athlete, incredible human being, just absolutely incredible for sure.
And the thing that blows me away too, I mean, I've heard stories about him in the 36 Olympics, like the shoes he wore was basically a piece of leather and that's it. I mean, can you imagine the equipment that he was running in, the condition of the tracks compared to now, and he's running those times?
Right.
Absolutely nuts.
That
has to be one of the greatest of all time, just based on that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, Tosh. Well, let's sprint down the track. What are you taking a look at in this week's Old Look at New?
I usually have a date, and I usually have, you know, a specific event. But my Old Look at New kind of hit me. You know, we're recording this on a Sunday, actually. Kind of hit me as we were driving through the town of Sherwood today.
Sure.
And as we drove through, we stopped at a certain place that has been around for a very long time. I don't remember it back as far as it goes, and I don't even have the exact date that it started, but that is a little place called Frog's Ice Cream.
Yeah.
And Frog's Ice Cream was, I know that the owners prior to the people who own it, went to new owners in last year in 2023. So I think this is the first full summer with the new owners in 2024. Those owners bought it from a couple in 2002, and they renovated it and did some things to it. So that has been a staple here in the Fox Valley for over 20 years now. It continues to be fantastic. And the reason I really mention it is because next weekend, I believe, is the end. You know, they always shut down when kids go back to high school and college kids leave. And, you know, it's a summer staple. Unfortunately, is also a sign that summer is over. But we love Frogs. It's just a cool drive-through, cool, you know, walk up and get your stuff. And it's always packed on a nice hot summer nights as you're driving through Sherwood, Wisconsin.
Oh, Tosh, you have made ice cream. Is there anything better than a little ice cream shop like Frogs, like Dick's and Kakana down the road? I mean, they're all just epic. Do you know the new owners?
I do not know the new owners. I was trying to look up who they are. I believe, according to my son Ethan, that they are relation to the same people who own Copper Rock Coffee.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Tosh, I'm going to do a little investigative research for you because I believe I might know who the owners are, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm going to do a little research and I'll report back.
That sounds good. I would appreciate that.
All right. Well, Tosh, another fantastic Old Look at New, which is presented by Raleigh Winter and Associates.
we can start kind of from the beginning. I mean, your interest in volleyball. How did that start for you?
Yeah, you mentioned you guys are in your 50s. I just turned 50 last fall, and I always joke. People turn 50, and guys turn 50. They buy a convertible or a boat, or date a young blonde or something crazy. And I turned 50 coaching with the Badgers, and it was fantastic. It was, imagine doing something you love for years and then getting to do it at that highest level. So that was really special for me. So I've been doing volleyball for 30 years. I grew up in Pulaski, Wisconsin. So I've not ventured far from Northeast Wisconsin at all through careers or colleges or hometown. So Pulaski to Stevens Point, and I always played pickup basketball. I played, and I love that you guys are just sport nuts because you'll probably know a lot of the names that I'm throwing out. I played basketball for Fred Kessley, and Fred was a massive influence in. I wanted to be Fred. I wanted to be a FIA teacher. I wanted to coach basketball. He always brought Woody Wilson in to do our camps and made us go to Dick Bennett's camps where I remember not being able to walk. Like, this is just, are we ever going to do anything other than defense? But so I was just into sports and got to Point, played pickup basketball. And then some guys, Jason Smith, asked me if I would try out for the men's volleyball team. And I was 20 years old and tried out and made it, fell in love with it. Then I started coaching right away at Stevens Point Pacelli because the head coach there always had men's players come and help out. So I was coaching JV girls volleyball and playing men's volleyball at Point. And then right away got to Kimberly, was hired as the volleyball coach and FIA teacher. Did that for 10 years here, and then got into admin. When I got into admin, it was more about club. So Wisconsin Volleyball Academy. Well, actually, Bruce Moriarty and I started as Fox Valley Volleyball Academy, and then transitioned to Wisconsin Volleyball Academy, and then transitioned into Fox Cities Elite. So a lot of name changes, but it's really it's kids playing volleyball and guys like us coaching it and just getting into it. So.
Well, if we rewind back to you're in Pulaski, you're in high school, there's really, because we're roughly the same age, maybe Tosh and I might be a little bit older, but I mean, volleyball was nothing what it was like it is now. So did you even play volleyball in high school, really? Never.
Yeah. No, it wasn't even part of, I was just into coaching. It was so much about what Fred was about and what Dick Bennett was about, and watching all of those, just really into sports. And it was about coaching and the love of sports. Volleyball was just, when I got to Point, I played a little bit of intramurals and on sand, and it was fun because a couple girls asked us to do it, and like those girls. So
girls,
they mused us right into the sport. But it's 30 years of volleyball. A lot has changed.
Did you know when you were going to Stevens Point, though, you graduate from Pulaski? Did you, it was teaching then with maybe with Fred's mentorship or enlightenment, was teaching was that a no-brainer for you that's what you were going to do? That was the passion?
It was, physical education was that link between coaching and I think it's maybe a little bit different now, but if you were a physical education teacher, you were a coach. That's just this is how it went. So I knew I wanted to be in coaching and be in sports, and that was the path.
I got to ask a question because I have several friends they're in the same situation. They're in physical education, but they're the head football coach or whatever. How much of coaching time leaks into that physical education time? It's got to be some, right? Like
it does. It does. It's when you're a coach, you're just always doing it. You're just
Yeah.
always doing it, and you're always thinking about it. And whether you're at home or you mentioned the word curious, and that's one thing that Sheffield will talk about at Madison. He's just curious, and I think many coaches, you're just curious, like what's next, and how can we, and what should we do, and it's always the next thing. So yeah, when you're teaching, it was you were always curious about talking because you worked then with other coaches.
Yeah.
I shared an office, my first office. There's another name that you'll love. Remember John Malin?
Yeah.
Sure.
I shared an office with John Malin, and that office was not big enough for one person. And he said, come on in. And we were down in it's where JRG is now. And I got to be around John every day. And again, just a fantastic coach, a fantastic mentor, a perfect person to get you going in the world of athletics. And then at that time, Kimberly athletics, which, it's always been a big deal, but he was a big part of that.
A couple of things. So Kimberly, you were at Kimberly pretty early when Kimberly started to become Kimberly, of really all sports. I mean, that had to be, did you guys kind of realize like all the sports were it was almost simultaneous? Football, baseball, basketball, volleyball, all of you guys were basically winning state titles. And did you kind of realize what was happening at that time?
So there was, it's interesting because when I got there, they were already successful. There was already, you got John Malin and Coonan and, all the girls basketball and playing morning basketball with John Myron. It was there. But then we move into the new high school, and then there's talk of a new football coach, and Steve Jorgensen and Dean Matchey come to a basketball game, and I'm in the weight room, and they come in, and I just said, hey man, this is great to have you. And Jorgie's just he's a special guy. And I'm just like, he's like, well, what needs to happen around here? I'm like, we need a maker of men. And he said, cool. And in Jorgie's way, just walked out. And that's exactly what he was. He and Dean, they're just special people. They're just, I think if you're in education or in any realm, you talk about this, it's people, not programs. Anybody can put in a program. It's the people that drive it. And, you look at guys like Mel Leitner and Steve Jorgensen and Dean Matchey. And at that time, Gary Westerman was an assistant. At that time, Steve Jones was the quarterback coach.
Yeah.
Hinsky was you're talking about just what a staff. And then McGinnis comes over, and it just kept going and going and going. A lot of that though really was around, I give a lot of credit to Dean. He was the guy that created athletic, he was able, where John was fantastic one-on-one or maybe 1-on-5 and really just poured into people. Dean was able to do the same thing, but with 100 people at a time. And when he ran a weight room, wow, it was great. And that's that where that old Kimberly, new Kimberly crossed over. You had John and Dean, and they were doing it together. Man, the community was and really is spoiled,
So the transition between that old and new, there wasn't a disconnect there, right? It just a flawless continuation.
At the end of the day, everybody cared. Yeah. Everybody cared, and they cared deeply. So if there was a disconnect, it was, okay, how are we going to get better?
Right.
How are we going to do this? And that's where I think that secret sauce sort of was. Everybody wanted to get better. There's no shortage of sort of those peacock kind of parts to head coaches, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But at the end of the day, we all wanted to get better, and there was that sharing of things from others. So yeah, special moment. It was really a good time.
That is interesting because I mean, in Kimberly's pretty much kept it going, but it's almost rare that every single sport seems to be in step with each other and competing at the highest level. It doesn't seem to happen like that at other schools where every sport is it.
Yeah, it's a bit like the Packers, right? I mean, how do
Right.
you go through three quarterbacks like that? Well,
Yeah.
there's
Exactly.
just that. I think it's often talked about. Culture is something people often say, but it's rarely defined. And I think that you can certainly say there's a Kimberly culture, but it would be difficult to define it.
Right.
But it does flow through those hallways in the community in a pretty natural way.
So to go back to you a little bit, so high school for you in Pulaski, you're playing basketball. Any other sports that really kind of led to your crossover to volleyball, or was it just playing sports in general that just made you, the athlete?
I was just a basketball, baseball kid,
Okay.
and I was way too small to play football. I did not get. I was a guard who got tall my senior year, so that was fun. But I was 5'8", 125 when I got my license, so I was not going to put on a helmet 2 years prior to that. So no football for me. But again, it's not like there was volleyball or anything else pulling me away. I was way too tiny. So still loved football and still loved, I remember us grabbing some. I saw some of your other stuff about helmets and equipment, and I remember us taking some old pads and old helmets that spin around, and we would just backyard football it, and just to hear that pop. Man, that was so unsafe. I'm sure I've got some public concussion at some point, but
It's a miracle we made 50, right?
Yeah. A miracle we made 50, and a miracle that, thank goodness there were no phones back then, right?
Oh,
Exactly.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was curious, and we tend to skip around a lot. I'm sure if you've listened to any of our interviews, but when you worked for Kelly at UW Madison, did you you mentioned that curiosity. Did you discover, because I mean, your primary big part of your job was film breakdown and just the film work. Is that kind of where you discover that you're curious about something and then you discover it through film work and just film study? Is that an area that discovers that curiosity?
Yeah. Tech specialist was the name of it. Kelly and I are both Seinfeld fans. I think we had assistant to the traveling secretary on there at one point or something like that. He was just joking around.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it really
Costanza.
was, I was there to support Gary, Ann, and Brittany and Kelly and whatever they needed. And I was given some tasks to do. Some of that was film. Some of that was just, on court, a lot of on court stuff in the practice gym. I think probably the biggest thing that jumps out about Kelly is that he is very curious and he is tireless. He is older than I am, and I was waiting for a moment for him to be like, yeah, I'm going to take a nap or sit down. And he just never does. And there was also this process. A lot of people talk about trust the process and things like that, but there was a process that it's not about the championship. It is not at Wisconsin. It's not talked about winning championships, even though I don't know if you've seen him speak on this recently, but they are the top program in the nation of all programs. Alabama football, UConn basketball. There is data to support that they are the greatest program in the nation over the last 5 years. And it is that train keeps moving. Because it happens to every team at every level, young kids, old, male, female. Something bad is going to happen. Something good is going to happen. Something really bad is going to happen. Something really good is going to happen. And it is just on to the next thing. And it is, here we go. And he just keeps going until that train stops and that season is done. It is always the next thing. And he reminded me of Jorgie a little bit in that he was always 2 steps ahead. He was always 2 steps ahead of everybody. He was 2 steps ahead of every question, every next training method. Always just, it's neat being around people like that and to see it. So
when you took the job at Lawrence, one of the things you said was just somebody asked you, what are your goals or whatever, and you just simply said win championships. I mean, is that basically what you were referring to? Is with just that kind of that Kelly way? It's just you tackle whatever's in front of you, and you're going to win the championship.
It didn't have as much to do with Wisconsin. It had more to do with mindset. I had been on that interview, and I think that the mindset at Lawrence can and should be, we expect to win just like everybody else, because the record is not glowing in women's volleyball at Lawrence. They've had some success, smatterings of success here and there, but I think it first starts with a belief that we're going to believe that we can win just like anybody else.
Right.
Why not? And it just has to start with that. And I sort of use the phrase, it's a new normal. It's just what everybody else would do. The new normal, just that detail, task oriented. You're going to show up, early is on time, right? Early is on time. That's just normal in a lot of programs. Well, it's a new normal for us at Lawrence. How we talk to each other, how we stand in huddles, how we practice, and the intensity at which we do that. So it's just a new normal, and that's sort of what I was getting at. We're going to believe that we can win, and I add on just like everybody else, because I don't want to profess to be that arrogant. I'm 50, right? I'm not that arrogant young guy that is like, we're going to shock the world and we're going to do this and we're going to do this and watch out conference and world. And because in full disclosure, I did that when I was the coach at Kimberly. And I was quickly reminded, hey, Sue Judge did some pretty good stuff here before you, buddy.
Right.
And I was like, ooh, yeah, that I don't mean to disrespect anybody, but I did. And when you're old enough to know better, you got to do better. And that's sort of where that's from. We're like everybody else. We believe we can win too. Why not? Let's start with that.
Sure.
Let's start with that. So that's where it was. And we are chasing down the first conference championship ever in a school that is 175 years old.
Right.
And that'd be pretty darn cool. I guess.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun. So, yeah.
You came in and you come into a program and a school that really has a history of being an academic school, not an athletic school. But I think we've seen over the last how many years that there's been a new focus at Lawrence. You can be both. Is that one of the things that drew you to this position as well?
I think what happened is the same thing that happens with the recruits that come on campus. I've had 3 or 4 local, 2 of the recruits that are playing this year are local kids. Okay. Hazel Cook and Maggie Honke, they'll be great, great Vikings. Those 2, and then a couple other recruits. Local people don't really know Lawrence until you get there. And I saw, there certainly are a lot of brilliant people there.
Yeah.
There are a lot of there's a lot of community and academic, what's the word I'm looking for? Standing, right? Mm-hmm. When I go recruit now, I filter out and I set the GPA to 3.5. And you're going to be in that 27 range of your ACT.
Yeah.
Fortunately, in a lot of the sports, there's a lot of smart kids, and now it is about them coming to Lawrence and seeing. I think you have a little bit of with Jason Imperati, what he has done, Kristen Aberray, President Carter. They're great people. They're great people, and it's not so much the program; it's about what they want and what they are driven to do, and not sacrifice their academic prowess. So really fun to be part of that. And yeah, that's what jumped out to me is they're really, I don't want to say they're going after it because that's implying that they weren't before, but they're creating their new normal as well.
Right.
So what does, they're really evaluating the pulse of what they are and what they want to be. And they are constantly level setting to make sure that they do that. And so when we talked about what I would be able to do, they're like, yes, we like that idea. We like that idea. And then they have supported it through and through. I mean, it is really fantastic. It's been really fun.
Cool. We had Mikey Zadraga on he started a new lacrosse program, and I'm sure you guys face the same problem. We talked about recruiting at Lawrence and what it can be, and I think he used something like, there's no reason why it couldn't be kind of, quote, the Harvard of the Midwest. Have a good sports program, high academics, you have great facilities. Why not? But I'm sure recruiting is challenging. I mean, can you talk a little bit about that? Your challenges of recruiting to Lawrence?
Yeah, I think what we're finding is I have some advantages in that club world. So locally, I've trained and coached kids in this area for a long time. So when they come on a visit, if they're local, they know me. Okay. I'll tell you a good story, and then you circle me back to this so I can make sure I've answered the question. But so I when I recruit, I will ask a player you need to find out about me. You need to Google, talk, call, find somebody that knows me and ask them, what's this guy? Is he a snake oil salesman? What's he really like? Because I don't want you on campus. I don't want to recruit you for 4 years. I want to recruit you once, and then your hands in the huddle and ready, let's go. And this young lady, so she messaged Kelly. And he's in an airport, and he says, and he calls me. He's like, "Hey, did you apply for a new job or something? Somebody texted me, wants to talk to me, ask about you." I'm like, "No." And he said the girl's name. I'm like, "Oh, Kelly, that's a recruit." And he goes, "I'll call her." So this young lady talked with Kelly Sheffield about me for 20 minutes, and I'm like, that's exactly, and I just love this kid. I hope she ends up coming to Lawrence because she's just a total, I mean, what a personality, right? What a personality.
Yeah.
What a great.
What you're looking for.
Exactly. So Kelly calls me back. He's like, "Oh, you'll get her." I'm like, "All right." Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
So, but like Hazel and Maggie, they've known me. Hazel, I knew when she was 12 or 13. My daughters work at ARC where her grandma is. They're at so I mean, there is just an advantage that Mikey doesn't have yet. Now, Mikey's working his tail off, and he is getting to know people fast and furious, but he is, and that's the thing. It's about people. Nobody's really that interested in what type of offense we're going to run or what are your strategies as a lacrosse? Well, there's a lot of different strategies. What kind of person are you?
Yeah.
And so for me, there's certainly, and then I also have, because I've worked at FC and I mean, the reason I got connected with the Badgers is because I was able to be around high level people. that's how I met Kelly and Brittany and Gary. And so that's how I move into that role. Well, it's no different here. Like, I can call other clubs and say, hey, I'm looking for, I can call First Alliance, which is one of the top clubs in the Chicago area, and say, I need a setter, a libero. They got to be, do you have anybody that's whip smart, pre-med, looking for a great school? I have those connections right away. So I think I am optimistic that we can do that with a pretty good measure of success. The other thing that we have going on at Lawrence is we have a very small roster right now. So a 25 that comes in has an opportunity to play. And if you're a Division III player, there's some rosters in Division III that are 25 in volleyball. It's maybe not as appealing. Now, I certainly don't want to be in a position where I can promise new recruits that you'll have a chance to play as we go forward and win championships. Like that's not a sustainable way to do things. But right now, hopefully that, is, and again, that's just being honest. That's the reality of the situation. So if you're a player that, do I want to, go to a WEAC school and sit, or I can go to Lawrence and play, and I know this guy. Maybe it works for us. Maybe it's a good fit. So I think there's some good things coming for a lot of Lawrence programs. You look at Riley. I just saw Jeff Simon. Jeff Simon and we've been together in Kimberly for a long time. He walked in the office like, hey, and now he's doing that same thing at, assisting at Lawrence. So those local connections and those connections, again, great people make great programs. You want a great school, get great teachers.
Yes. Hey, Newsa-Cast listeners, help us grow by subscribing wherever you get your pods or sharing the Newsa-Cast. Follow us on Facebook, X, TikTok, or Instagram. Northeastern Wisconsin Sports Advancement is a 501c3 organization. Our mission is to raise money, provide support, and bring greater awareness for youth sports organizations in Northeast Wisconsin. We do this primarily through the Red Smith Sports Award Banquet and the Newsa-Cast. Each year, we give back to the community through 3 initiatives: the Every Kid Plays Grant, the Gives Back Initiative, and scholarships to student athletes. It's pretty cool to see Lawrence is really invested in their athletics here. You can see it come, the Bontable is beautiful, obviously, and the new track, the baseball field looks great. Alexander Gym's going under, some renovations as well. I mean, they're really putting a nice investment into the athletics facilities.
Did Mikey talk about any of the other things that are going on? Did he talk about Fox Commons?
Let's get into it. I mean, we had Joe Vandenacker as well on, but we didn't. I don't think, Tosh, we talked about that, did we?
No, we didn't.
Yeah, so I had a couple recruit visits the last couple of weeks, and was able to get two of the visits into Fox Commons. So you guys are familiar with the mall, downtown mall.
Yep. Yeah,
they've always tried to get it going, keep it going.
Yeah.
Do whatever, right?
Right.
Now Lawrence, it's Lawrence's. I believe they lease it. Specifics you'll have to fact check somewhere else. But at the end of the day, our junior and seniors will get to live there, and it is so they get to live apartment style living downtown College Ave. Second and third floor, and then on the bottom there will be some shops, but then there's a business apartment. They're not quite sure how that will look, like what classes will be there, or if it's just a combined learning space. There's some pre-health, community.
Yeah,
Mosaic is there. I mean, it is fantastic. And then they've also have, of course, in Mile Music, Lawrence University Fashion. There's this really great atrium with a area to do concerts and music and things like that.
Oh,
it's awesome. And I walked through it a couple weeks ago, and they're like, "Yeah, I'll be done in a couple weeks." I'm like, "Are you serious?" this is, there's a long way to go, but they have the counters and they have appliances and stuff like that. It is, I'm telling you, if you guys walk through there, you'd go, I want to live here.
I can't wait. And then with the trout museum, and isn't there going to be some housing in that building as well?
So then the trout goes up right next to President Carter. I believe she was the influence of the arch, right? So just across from the arch will be a gorgeous building. Trout Museum is going to go there, and then there'll be some partnership, I believe, with the arts department. And then above that is some meeting space, but also you guys could live there. So we'll rent, their apartments. And I am almost an empty nester. So I am, there's a person that is, what do they call it? Like res life. Like they live there, and like, I might just do that. Downtown Fox County. But
sold me.
Yeah. And then there were some renderings of a new facility next to the Alex, which is indoor track, indoor soccer, lacrosse, basically that multi-purpose facility that you see at a lot of places. Right. You could do basketball in there if you want, if you didn't want to run a large camp. And then there'll be another weight room there, and fitness center with meeting rooms and stuff like that. That would just be connected in a hallway from the Alex. So
would that go on that old soccer field that's kind of right there in that space?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So a lot of really, really neat things, which was another, we talked about this as coaches, and I just asked them, like, guys, how realistic is it to talk about the viability of a school in recruiting? Because that was never something when I was younger. These schools, these universities were always going to be here, right? Like once they were there, never. Now we live in this space where universities are closing and campuses are in real despair. And they're like, it can be something that you could be questioned about, and you need to be ready to talk about. And I forget what coach had said it, but they said orange barrels is a good sign, and we have got plenty of orange barrels around here.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's a good point.
I feel like you guys are kind of in the sweet spot, though, kind of a smaller school. You can kind of maybe contain yourself a little bit and not get out of control. I feel like Lawrence is really set up to withstand whatever is happening now in education.
Yeah, I think the other thing that was impressive to me is just the power of the alumni at Lawrence. It is what a robust group. Just the things that I see. Again, I don't know locally as many people that went to Lawrence University, but when you cover the map of the nation, there is a lot of Laurentians that are all over. There was a story about some people in the business department going down to Michigan Ave and just getting up in these high rises and meeting Fortune 500 after Fortune 500 after Fortune 500. And there was a Lawrence person there that was just showing them around. It's like, that's some impressive stuff. Just speaks to that brilliance.
I think Lawrence has always had that issue. I was an assistant baseball coach for like 9 years there. And we always had a problem of recruiting that local athlete, and you had to rely on kids coming. We had kids from New York, kids from Chicago, and it was always difficult to get those local kids. But being a teacher in Appleton, I hear more and more kids who are going to Lawrence now. It doesn't have that, you can live away from home in Appleton and still get a great experience. And I think that's what Lawrence is offering. I think that's what, like Mikey said, and what you're saying as recruiting, you can still recruit and you can still get these athletes.
Yep. Before, it's almost embarrassing, but I knew Lawrence as the place where all the kids went to get their prom pics, right? They went
Exactly.
And then I always knew I had to slow down when I went, because there's going to be some kids crossing and some flashing lights. That's what I knew.
Right.
Yeah.
But once you start walking there and you realize they were there before Wisconsin, a year before Wisconsin was a state, Lawrence was yours. And you can see they took some of the best real estate and built some of the greatest stuff. I mean, I forget what the name of the dorm is, but it's Hyatt, I think, is right
Hyatt,
on the
yeah.
water.
Yep.
It's right on the water. Those kids have a view of the Fox River, like one of the best views. It is gorgeous.
Yeah.
So, really, just really cool. It's been I don't know. It's kind of like living here and never going to the Packer Hall of Fame. And then all of a sudden you go and you're like, wow, this is awesome.
Right.
Why didn't I ever go? So,
yeah.
It is one of the neat things about Lawrence. I don't live too far from there, so it's just woven into the fabric of Appleton. I mean, like you said, Lawrence basically started Appleton. The two grew up together. They were. It's an amazing story, and you're absolutely right. The campus is just beautiful. The trails, the walk. It's just the best views of the river are on the Lawrence campus.
Yeah. Yeah, we have meetings at Warch, and there's eagles flying over. Right.
Owls.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky. So
I have a question for you, and going kind of backtracking a little bit about the club, because volleyball club just kind of fascinates me because it is such a machine. I mean, there's so many different clubs, and I have students, and they tell me, well, I'm trying out for this one, and this one. And I have 24 hours to make my choice, and it's crazy. Could you've been involved with that? Can you talk a little bit about the club?
Well, it gets even crazier. So across the nation, there have been they typically try out in other parts of the nation. Tryouts were in the summer, so you would try out right now for a team that's going to start in November. So prior to high school, right?
Wow.
And we just, in Wisconsin, we never did. And so we just always had our tryout in October for that, and then started in November, and off we go. So we play November to, this year was mid-July, which was very long, but that's when USA Volleyball had nationals, and that's that. So, so there is a point where, like Texas, kids from Texas would be playing against each other at nationals, but they had just tried out, and they're going to be on different teams next year. Like they're going to be playing together. It was sort of weird. So we're going to go to that. There are some clubs in the area that have done that already. We've kept ours until after the high school season this year, but we're going to have to probably transition to now trying out in the summer. Which gets even, my point has always been the same. So you're telling me we can pick the all-state team for high school volleyball before the season even starts? Like these kids don't even get a high school season. They don't even get to produce and grow or regress, So, it is an interesting I guess, world, so to speak. There's a lot of education. I'm really happy that I'm with. So Brett Damrow is the director, and he has taught me. He's another person that I've been very blessed to be around. He's taught me a lot about volleyball. If not for Brett, so we won a national championship in club a few years ago, and I owe a lot of that to him. He really helped me coach that group. And he's the master trainer for FC. His daughter is she's Sage Damrow, who plays at Wisconsin. She committed when she was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
How about that? And then Amy Daly. Amy Daly is the other director with Brett. I'm one of the associate directors, but those two, Amy does a fantastic job of communicating and educating younger families because it can be really daunting. So we try to offer things where they can get in the gym and they can ask those questions like, how does this go? And have multiple entry points. So there's a thing called Taste of Elite. You can just try it and not put all that money down and all those weekends down and all of that. You can play on a regional team where it's going to end a little bit sooner. It's going to be more affordable and things like that. And then there are the levels that we get to where we're playing nationally and And then we bring in college coaches and they do some recruiting right in our own backyard to help out athletes that way. So it really is to use that school term, you do have to differentiate quite a bit, because there's a lot. These aren't all players going to Michigan, Wisconsin, and, UWGB. Right. There's a fit for everybody. And then you want to provide the best experience that you can. We talk pretty openly about loving on kids, especially at club. So wherever they're at, we want to meet them there. And then we also believe in training. Okay. Wherever you're at, we're going to train. And we have to, and that's sort of what we do. Because if you want to play in college, just have fun, get better for your high school team, make your high school team, whatever the case may be, it's really about training. So that's really what we try to provide.
That really is the key to success, isn't it? Is just training, isn't it? I mean, it's yep. changed over, we've talked to guys like Mike Draheim, just about how training has changed over the last few years. But, and you even mentioned, again, going back to, to being the Lawrence head coach, it's something you wanted to, kind of sounds like just put maybe more of an emphasis on training. It's the road to success.
For sure. And it's sort of that, I love Giannis's statement. It doesn't mean that he wasn't successful when he didn't win, right?
Right.
You train a certain way, you train hard and you get after it. And we want to have great character and great process. And I think we all know you can't win a championship without some gym rats, and you can't win a championship without great teammates, and you can't win a championship without some kids that are really pouring into it and doing some great things, and a coach that's trying to find good ways. I mean, when have you ever seen a championship team just sort of luck into it?
Right.
Like, oh, look at those bad apples. I can't believe they won. Right. It just doesn't happen. Like, there's quality character, quality process, and then we'll see what happens. And that's sort of back to that Sheffield thing. He has quality kids. They do things the right way. They have a process. We'll find out. Yeah. But yeah, club is, and I've run the gamut here, right? Like I was coaching high school volleyball, and club was just like, maybe we can get a couple kids in there and then they'll get a little better and we can be a little better. And club was kind of helping out the high school. Right.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of morphed into where we have now is club is the driver for a lot of athletes. Club is their spot, their time, and they love to play high school because you have that state feel and all of that. And you're with your school and things like that. But club has really evolved into this is I want to lack of a better, like, be elite. I want to be elite, and high school is now if you're fortunate enough to have somebody like Bruce Moriarty or Steve Sherrill or Brett Damrow as your high school coach, you can grow there too. But they're more of a pair rather than that supplement to your high school.
Yeah, it's been amazing watching it, and it's really filtered to almost every sport, hasn't it? Lacrosse, soccer. I mean, every sport virtually is now year round when you put the club component in.
Yeah.
Do you have what are your thoughts on that? I mean, this is probably not a fair question, or maybe it's a difficult question, but we've seen a lot in our lifetime. Certainly this aspect of sports has drastically changed from when we were young. I mean, are you comfortable where we're at with youth sports and where the club scene is right now? Or I guess, what are your thoughts?
I think that if you're around good people that are truly, I believe a lot of what Joe Ehrman talks about. I don't know if you've read his book, but why are you doing it? Why are you coaching? If you're using young men and women as a transactional element to make you feel better, then that's not good. If you want to help them grow, teach them a little bit about a skill. You can learn a lot by getting beat on a last second shot. There's a lot to overcome there. You can learn a lot by not making a club team. It happened to my own daughter, and came home, and I'm divorced now, but back when I was married, and she was devastated, and she was crying and crying and crying. And she was like sobbing, crying. And my ex-wife was angry. She's like, oh, how dare they cut her, and how dare they, and I said, don't just let it hurt. Yeah. She'll be fine. She's 12 years old. She's got a whole lot ahead of her. This is her journey. Just let her figure it out. And from that point on, she's played with a chip on her shoulder the rest of her life, but it's her journey. It's her stuff. Right. A bad beat, empty pockets, and a broken heart teaches you a lot of stuff. So so to answer your question, I think that we have to let kids have their experiences, whatever those experiences are. And if they are a 3-sport athlete, great. If they are a 1-sport athlete, great. If they are a musician, great. If they decide that they don't want to do it anymore and they want to focus in on X, Y, or Z, great. But they're their experiences, and we should, it's tough, but it's tough, right? So like say a kid leaves your team and they are the top kid, it's going to be like, oh boy, it's going to be hard. Yeah, you're right. But you're going to do this for 30 years. This is their experience. But I've also, you're either evolving or dying. And just because I threw on a helmet in the fall, played basketball with Fred in the winter, and then played baseball in the spring, and then did Legion and open gym basketball. Like I always had different shoes that I was flipping into, right? And then we would set up badminton in the backyard. And then, that's what we would do. Yeah. Whatever kids do now, I get it. They're on their phones more. I get it. It's different, but how do we evolve? They also get to watch videos of people learning other ways of doing things very quickly. Like if you're a volleyball player, you can, in your feed is constant stuff from great people teaching you great stuff. Yeah. It's just evolution, and that's okay. So I'm not, I think the one that always was rough for me was open enrollment, because I was there when that started, and I liked when Kimberly played Kakana, when it was our town versus your town. Yeah. And then it became our town and the kid we took from that town versus your town. Yeah. And that sort of, that's a bummer, that one, it's tougher to get over. But I just kind of resolved myself to it.
That's been hard to take in high school sports. You're right. Those crosstown rivals don't happen as much, if even happen at all. And yeah, it's a shame. There's no question. You mentioned something just earlier, and I want to clip it for social purposes. It was beautifully said when you talked about your daughter not making a U12 team or whatever age it was, because that's a real thing. I mean, I had a son in a similar situation. He was in the soccer world, and I look back on it now as a dad. It's like, gosh, was it even worth having him play, travel ball? And you're right. It comes down to the coaches and all of that. But he had similar kind of experiences, and I think it was worth it in a sense that he did, like your daughter, learn from defeat, learn from not making a team, learn from being benched, whatever the hard lesson was. I'm at least glad that they learned from that. And I guess I want to transition to, you're a father of 2 daughters that play Division I basketball. Volleyball, excuse me. Yep. That process from the father side, that has to be, Tosh and I talk so much, and we just talked about from the coaching side, recruiting, but from a father side, what's that like, being a father of 2 daughters playing at a very high level?
It's great. It's really fun and really happy for them. Full disclosure, they have an advantage being in my house and then talking, so I'm helping athletes get recruited, and then they've got sort of an inside scoop, and I've got some phone calls that I can make and people that I can ask and say, what do you think?
But they're still putting in the work. I mean, they went to the gym early in the morning. They did the early morning run, weightlifting, whatever the case was. They had the passion and the work to put themselves in that position.
Yeah, we had a coaches camp, college prep camp at FC, and there's always this Q&A and we have all the coaches lined up, and they're going through their thing like, we need a good teammate, we got to be on time, we got to do this. And one coach said, I want to be clear though, you got to be good too.
Yeah.
Like you got to be able to jump high, hit hard, perform. So let's not, and do all those other things. So, and yes, and that takes effort. That's the joy of it. For a lot of athletes is the fact that it's hard. Bella it was a little bit different because that was during COVID. So Northern Colorado took her sight unseen. They did not get to see her live. It was just on video, and then reaching out to other coaches that knew her and like, yeah, she's at that level and she can play there. So, and she's having a fantastic experience. She got redshirted, but for her, she's loving it. She loves her teammates, loves her coaches, loves all of it. And she's in Colorado, which is beautiful. Yeah. Emerson was, she always had that chip on her shoulder, and we had gone to a number of schools, but it really came down to the people that are there. And, for her, it might be a little bit of the fact that they are in a multi-million-dollar brand new volleyball only facility. That may help, but for me, it's about the coach. Jason Mansfield is one of the best in the business and really great. So yeah, very, very happy for both of them. Liz Grigorski, I don't know if you know Liz. Remember Liz? Liz, she played at Wisconsin. She was a Xavier kid. She tore both her ACL twice, but still got on with the Badgers, and then and is now playing her last year there. And my ex-wife and Emerson, they're related to Liz. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay. Pretty cool story.
How are they handling being a D1 athlete? I mean, that's a tough. We've talked to a couple of people on the podcast, but I don't think people have a real sense of like the day-to-day of being a D1. Well, even a Lawrence athlete. Really, just being a college athlete that's tough work.
It is, and I think that you can tell athletes, but until they're there, they don't get it. I was messaging with her the other day. She's like, I'm just really tired. Okay. So then I talked with her, and I just talked about, you need to realize this is different. You need to get rest when you can. You need to say no to going to get ice cream when you need to rehab and prehab. That's another thing that really jumped out at Wisconsin is the level at which they're in the facility and doing things to prepare their body just to practice and to rehab their body from practice and to prepare. And there is a lot of conversation about sleep and what sleep does and the data of that. So that would be, I think, for any athlete, any age, I would encourage you to look up all the information and all the positives of sleep. And I think that sort of gets muddied because what they hear is, oh, you just want me off my phone. No, no, I do want you off your phone, but I want you off your phone so you can sleep. Yeah. Because of what it does for your body and that extra hour each night, what that does to rehab and rest your body as an athlete. It's really critical.
Yeah. Even an adult, even me, you can feel the difference. It's real.
You can. Absolutely. But they're doing well. I think that, they're also, they're a little bit pampered. They have nutrition stations and somebody,
Yeah.
great food. And I mean, I saw Emerson Storm. Come on. It wasn't as small as the office that Malin and I shared, but our dorms used to be like, I mean, you shared a fridge, right? Like there was one
Right.
little mini fridge and you'd walk down to the bathroom, and it's just not the same anymore.
No. So as you look ahead to Lawrence's season, when do you start? And what are you excited about to start the season?
We start Friday. Friday, they're going to move in.
Okay.
Athletes are going to move in, and then we're going to do a little meet and greet with parents, and Jason and Michelle, our associate AD, will be there, and just say hello, and then get to work on Saturday. I will have a meeting. They will not be able. They're not allowed in their locker room because we've been trying to get all their gear ready and upgrade it and clean it and put a few other finishing touches in there that they don't know about, that they'll be excited about. So we'll have our typical Instagram post like everybody does of all their stuff, and, play some Christmas music because it's like Christmas morning. And actually, that's a good idea. I think I should play Christmas music.
Yeah.
And then we'll get started. And what I'm most, giving you a peek behind the curtain, the conversation is going to be every athlete starts out with optimism.
Yeah.
There's this wild, every team is just optimistic, feeling good. And you're going to get into practice. It's kind of like going golfing. You get on the driving range, right? Like, man, I'm really swinging it well. The driving range is 200 yards wide.
Exactly.
This is going well. Look at how they're like, and then it doesn't go so well. And then you're not as optimistic and whatever, but don't do that. Don't do that. Don't even be optimistic right now. Just get to the first practice and let's process through. And the same thing for me, not just the game plan of here's what I want, because I've done this. I'm like, okay, what should I do this week in this day one? And then let's see what we have. And then day two, and process it that way so that it's that Sheffield kind of train keeps moving. And we have to evaluate and deal with the adversity if somebody gets hurt, or we see that somebody's not playing as well as we thought, or this person was a surprise and is even better than we thought. And so no long stretched out game plan for me, and no wild optimism for you. We're all in this for the process. And
just a championship.
And we'll see. We'll see.
I like that mentality, that rail by rail, brick by brick, building block by building block. I mean, I think it's very easy to get caught up in looking at that big, huge picture, but the reality is it's a step each day, and you build on each of those steps to continue to move forward. And I like that. That's a fantastic attitude that you have. I appreciate that when you hear that from coaches.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's no doubt there's going to be some adversity.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know when it's going to come, but there is going to be some, and we're going to figure out how we react to that. And then we will also lay out, I mean, everybody's a starter with the new coach, right?
Right.
I have not had to make any tough decision in that, but that's coming.
Yeah.
That's coming. So what does that process look like? And how do we move forward through that? So.
Do the one quick question on the youth on the elite teams? Did the Olympics have any effect? Do you see kind of a boost in folks and kids wanting to play volleyball because the Olympics are on?
So here's one that you can clip and link to, because I'm not sure many people know this. League One volleyball they are the next pro league. To be in the States. There's another league that's happening. So the U.S. has done a phenomenal job of saying we have some of the best volleyball athletes in the world, but they have a choice to make when they are done with college. Do I want to get married and have a family? Or do I want to pursue the career that I know that I can do and I'm really good at? What a terrible choice.
Yeah,
what a difficult choice. So now people like Kelly and League One Volleyball and a lot of really great volleyball people across the nation have boosted this idea. Now, League One, what they did is it's a bit of, they created this ecosystem of clubs. So in a European model, you would have club soccer, and then you would, their club would be really wide at the bottom because you have youth, and then at the top would be their pro team.
Okay.
Well, FC Elite doesn't have a pro team. Neither does A5 or, Club V out in Utah or anything like that. But what they are a part of is League One Volleyball. And now that started maybe 3-4 years ago, and they've been building. And what they have done is signed athletes to professional volleyball. One of the teams will be in Madison, and they have signed Lauren Carlini. So, there's that connection to Madison. So there will be pro volleyball starting after the Olympics with just about every Olympian you see. And,
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
How many teams are we talking about?
I believe there are 6 right now. I know they were going to advance to 8. I think there's, but again, what I think, like people that are involved in sports don't know yet is what we know in the volleyball world, that this is about to explode, and you are going to see. So there's a team in Omaha, major hotbed, Madison, Houston, Salt Lake City, Atlanta. I mean, in the large club areas. So yeah, it will be fast and furious here very soon. Excited to see where it goes and grows, and what that season looks like.
Do you know where they would play, like in a basketball arena type?
Oh, I think they're going
to football stadium and all these. I mean, heck, some of these schools have had 100,000 come to their games.
Yeah. Yes. I know. I think there's a game that's Gamer Games that will be in the Fieldhouse in Madison.
Okay.
But again, it's worth looking into. When you hear about it, you can say you heard it here first.
Yeah, absolutely. Breaking news.
Yeah. But what is going to happen is these fantastic players in the state are going to stay in the state.
Yeah.
And not have to, and they'll have families and be right at home where their families can see them and not have to choose what they love to do as a career versus moving on with life.
I know from a financial standpoint, it's difficult to have a pro, league, but you see it in lacrosse with the PLL, and I feel like, the explosion that we've talked about with club volleyball. I mean, there's got to be enough players, I feel like, that could support a pretty substantial size league, I think, and be high quality, competitive, entertaining volleyball.
Yeah, there is certainly I've always said it this way. I think it's, there is a swell right now, and it has not crested yet. And you even look at, Wisconsin and Nebraska and Texas and what those teams do. I can tell you, sit right next to it, get good seats for it, and you will be sucked in, because these are some of the greatest athletes. And guys, this ball's moving.
Oh yeah.
It is. If you can get to Fiserv and watch these guys play, I mean, it's impressive. It is so
I can't
impressive.
even imagine.
Yeah. And, again, back to my first point, I turned 50 years old and was standing and working with some of the best there is. And here's the other great part. They're just great people. They're just great people, just like the other kids that I coach at FC. I coached Kim Weingard long ago. She's a great person. Like, they're all just great people. But to watch it at an elite level is pretty awesome.
Well, Jeff, I know I told you somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour, and this is usually what happens, though. I mean, we have, I actually still have more on my list. I feel like we could, we can cover a lot, but that just invites, I mean, we'll have you back on. Tosh and I, we've done this now for a little over a year. We can start having recurring guests on. We're certainly going to follow Lawrence women's volleyball for sure, all the Lawrence sports, but I mean, I can't help but think this is a program that's just going to be on a rapid rise here over the next year or two.
Well, and this is the other thing that we'll talk about in our first meet. I want to have fun.
Yeah.
And you know what fun is? Some kids that really want to win. They get there early. They don't want to leave. They're fun, funny, good people. At the end of the day, that's why you guys probably do this. Why I do what I do, and I don't know. Maybe that's what 50 years old.
That's right.
Just want to have fun,
That's right.
So
Say I don't give a damn, right? Just have fun.
Yeah, exactly. So we are going to have fun this year. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I'm going to have fun coming to watch you have fun.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. I mean, good luck on the season, but yeah, a lot of excitement. Not only with your program, but throughout Lawrence. So that's the coolest part.
And yeah, we fired up the Wayback Machine there. We had a mail-in drop, a Jorgie drop, Stephen Jones. Yeah, we did it all.
Exactly.
We did it all.
All right, Newsa-Cast listeners, welcome to our throwback on the podcast. And this week we're bringing it to Sal Bando.
Sal Bando, 1998 Red Smith Award winner. Tosh, he came to the Paper Valley Hotel that year, graced us with his presence. At that time, he was really known as the Brewers general manager, or former Brewers general manager at that time. But he was really, Tosh, he was really an Oakland A, first and foremost in his playing days.
Yeah, he won World Series 72, 73, 74 with the Oakland A's, that three-year stretch. He's in the Oakland A's Hall of Fame. He's also in the Brewers Walk of Fame as well. He was a premier third baseman, overshadowed by Brooks Robinson a little bit, but he was, Sal Bando, fantastic. You're going to love this clip. And remember, this is only a clip of the entire throwback, which you will be able to find on Sunday when it jumps off the stage onto our YouTube channel.
Absolutely. The Newsa-Cast YouTube page. I know you're all subscribed, but if you're not subscribed, please. But you're right. You get the full episode. Chuck Kunitz introduces him. It's a regular throwback to 1998 when times might have been simpler. Tosh, who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah, check that out. And you mentioned Brooks Robinson, too. He actually also came to the Red Smith Banquet as well. And I believe we have a throwback, him up there as well. We've got 60 of them or so in our archives. So check them out. You can spend all day listening to Red Smith Banquet throwbacks.
Red Smith Sports Awards Banquet Throwback.
The Red Smith Award, of course, goes to someone who has made some unique contributions to sport in Wisconsin and also epitomizes the great values that Red Smith exhibited.
Let's give a Red Smith welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy at this time to present Sal Bando, the Vice President of the Milwaukee Brewers.
Thank you, Judge. You read that just the way I wrote it. I appreciate it.
I'd like to first congratulate all the award winners and the young people for the many wonderful things they've accomplished. It truly is an honor to be recognized, and I congratulate you. It also is an honor for me to receive the Red Smith Award. As I read and knew of all the accomplishments that Red had done in his lifetime, couldn't help but think that if he was an active athlete today, we'd be seeing him on TV doing a lot of commercials as a gifted athlete, coach, and manager that he was. So it really is an honor for me to accept with his name on this trophy. It is also a pleasure to sit up here with many successful people, especially Coach Walsh, Bob Cousy. And I can't help but remember something that was said to me in 1973. We had won the World Series in 1972 and got off to a very lackluster start in 73. We came on a road trip to Milwaukee, and our owner, who lived in Chicago, came up to have a clubhouse meeting. And in this meeting, he had said something that has stuck with me ever since, and I think it applies to all of us in any endeavor that we try, in any position in life that we're in for young people in school. And he said, everyone in this room, and I say everyone in this room, has a desire to be successful. And he said, desire comes from the mind. But those that are truly successful requires dedication, and that comes from the heart. And I really believe that's where we separate the very successful people from those that aren't as successful. It takes that extra effort, that extra step. It takes truly dedication. And maybe I heard it best just a couple of weeks ago when I was fortunate to attend a banquet that my son was involved in. And I heard the football coach that was honored that night say that his creed in life was that a dream plus a good game plan plus hard work equal reality. Or a dream plus no game plan plus no hard work equals a dream. And for all of you young people out there, I think it's very possible to do what you want to do. But it does take hard work, and most of all, it takes dedication. I thank you again very much for this honor and for being here. We would hope to see all of you at County Stadium sometime during the season, and we thank you very much for your support, and God bless.
All right, Tosh, good throwback to Sal Bando, R.I.P. Well, Tosh, that signals the end of this show, but before we get out of here, we've got a little It's Forgotten and I'm Never Forgetting. So, Tosh, what is forgotten in your world?
Well, this week, I should say last week, I went to the Manitowoc County Fair. I got to watch my nephew show a steer, and I was, I forgot. And is a good reason why I forgot is, being a fair dad and fair parents. When Will used to show pigs at the Calumet County Fair, I tell you what, there are some stressed out parents there. There's some stressed out kids, and I do not miss that one bit.
I remember you telling me that, and that blew me away. But then it made sense because, you literally every single day you're caring for that animal. But that is nuts. I can't even imagine that.
Yeah.
How long is that day? Like that the competition actually, I know it's always a competition, but the actual day of?
The day of, they're showing different animals all day. And the showings take place every single day. So Dylan, our nephew, he was showing 2 steers, one in an open class, which goes back to him. And he hopes he'll be using that steer for next year. Then the other steer he had went to market, and it did go to market. So he made sale. I can't remember the exact price, but he made a little bit of money on it. But, there's a lot of money that goes into it. So that whole, just with him showing those 2 animals, that had to be about 3 hours of, waiting and getting in there and waiting and different things like that. Then the following day or 2 days later, whatever it is, you go back and you go back into the rink and you auction it off when you make market. And you hope that somebody bids high and you get a lot of money for your animal.
So do they stud that animal, or does that animal become
that animal becomes
Meat.
food.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can-
absolutely.
Can you get a good look at a T-bone?
We'll talk a little more about that, Tommy. So, Joe, how about yourself? What have you forgotten?
Well, Tosh, this is what people forgot is a letter carrier. This is a public service announcement as a letter carrier. Okay. I'm just the messenger. I'm not the paper boy. We deliver your paper now, unfortunately, but it's treated just like normal mail, like a normal letter. I am not the good old fashioned paper delivery person that you once had. I don't know why your paper didn't come today. I don't know why you're getting 3 papers on this particular day. I just don't know, but that's the way it is. And that's the way the world is when it comes to papers. So I'm truly sorry, but for the love of God, Tosh, I'm just the mailman. That's all I am. I don't have the answers to your newspaper problems.
Well, there used to be a number to call when you didn't get your paper.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then you would get a call as a paper boy and saying, hey, you missed this house or this house didn't get one. And you always have a couple extra papers in your bundle and you go deliver one to that house and apologize and get on your bike and go home. But those days are long gone.
Oh, it's not even like that close anymore, Tosh. But people don't realize that. So I wanted to make a little public service announcement to everybody that be kind to your letter carrier.
Nice. That's funny.
Sick of getting beat over the head by people that didn't get their newspaper. So I want that to be forgotten, Tosh. But how about something good? What's something you're never forgetting?
Well, I'll be honest. This is sentimental to me. I'm never forgetting the staff at East, especially my science department. I'm just going to name them. You know, we have Dustin, we have Ryan, we have Alexis, we have Stephanie, we have Abby, we have Zach, Katie, Debbie, and Barbie. And you know, they're the current ones. Mr. Wanamaker, Mr. Scherenbrock. You know, all my side. Very close with all the science teachers, and I'm really going to miss them a lot. It's going to be tough, but I know that they're going to do fantastic because they're such strong teachers, and it's going to be a new transition. So I'm really looking forward to developing that kind of relationship with my new staff, even though it's not even going to become close. It's going to be tough to come close to, you know, I spent 20 years teaching with some of the staff at East. And some of the staff has been there the entire time I was there. So, yeah, I'm never forgetting the staff at Appleton East. Absolutely love them, and I wish them the best of luck.
I don't know what else to say, Tosh. That's so awesome. And I know like Otis and Marks and some of those guys I have the pleasure of knowing and great guys, great girls for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So how about yourself, Joe? What are you never forgetting?
Well, Tosh, I'm never going to forget that when this episode comes out, an Appleton West grad will have made Major League Baseball history. And that's one Danny Jansen, who is playing for he's playing for both teams in the same game.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's nuts. It's nuts. So how does this happen? So on Monday, he's the Red Sox. This happened last Monday. He's the Red Sox catcher. When this game was originally played back in June of 2026, Jansen played for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Right.
And since that game got delayed, rained out, something happened where it was suspended and picked up on this date or on this past Monday. And in the meantime, Danny got traded and has the pleasure of being the only Major League Baseball player to play for both teams in the same game.
Yeah.
One Appleton West grad. I thought that was pretty cool.
That is absolutely cool. That's so interesting, right? I mean,
that is.
I mean, you probably never see something like that happen again. Everything that came into it is just pure luck.
Absolutely. I mean, it's so rare to have a game. It's so rare to actually have a game rained out and then to have it rescheduled down the road and all of that in play. And then to get traded and have a schedule line up. Nuts.
Yeah,
nuts.
Absolutely. That's cool. Yeah. Good luck to Danny on that. Fantastic kid. Absolutely. And wish him the best of luck with the Red Sox for the rest of the year.
Absolutely. Well, Tosh, that's it's forgotten. I'm never forgetting, but I'm never forgetting this episode. Another great Newsa-Cast. Thank you to Jeff Van Lannen. Good luck to the Lawrence girls this year. And Tosh, congratulations again on your new job. And it's always a hoot doing the Newsa-Cast with you.
Yeah, it is a good time, and I appreciate everything you do, Joe. So with that, Good luck to everybody.
Yeah, till next time.
Thank you for listening to another great episode of the Newsa-Cast. We'd really appreciate it if you hit up our social pages, subscribe, like, follow, and don't be afraid to engage. Head over to our YouTube channel to get exclusive content like the full interviews and speeches from the past Red Smith banquets. A huge thank you to Diggstown for all the music in today's episode. Catch a gig or find them on Spotify.